Yeah, all right. So we're starting the recording. So welcome for the Friday evening call in America. It's 9 o'clock in Thailand here, and Anna has asked a question about boredom. And um, boredom comes and goes. Actually, we could say that boredom is both a fetter and a hindrance, in the sense that the hindrances come up in the present moment. It's a feeling that we have that comes up from time to time, but it has a seed, and that seed then is the fetter, and that the manifestation of that seed then would be the hindrance of boredom. Now, boredom actually in the sutras is referred to as restlessness. And what we mean by restlessness is, in the sense of boredom, is that when we're bored, we're not, let us say, happy with the present moment. We want some change. We are not at rest. We are restless. The example that I would use is, let us say, on a trip where the kids are sitting in the back seat on the car trip, and they get bored. Um, and there's all kinds of things to do. They could look out the window, they could count cars, they could watch for police. There's all kinds of things that the kids could do that would help dad drive the car, but they don't. What they do instead is that they get restless. One of the ways that you can tell that the kid's restless, if he asks, "Are we there yet?" or "How close is it?" or in other words, they're dissatisfied with what they're doing right now. Or if the kid says to mom, "I'm bored," what will mom do? She'll give the kids some activity. She'll bring out a drawing book or a puzzle or play a game with the kids to get them distracted from the reality of the moment that they're dissatisfied with. I mean, the back seat of a car seems to get boring. It's the same back seat over and over again without recognizing that we've got a window that we could look out. So, this whole idea then of boredom is if we redefine it, we can define it and see that it is in fact restlessness, that the Buddha actually talked about this. Now, actually, restlessness is got a companion, and we call that companion worry. Worry means that we're worried about something, we're restless about something, but restlessness in general is more like boring. For instance, we can tell the difference between being worried about something and being bored, because bored seems that we don't have an object to worry about. And so, if we can recognize that boredom means then that we're just simply dissatisfied with the present moment, then we can do something about it. It's a matter of waking up. Generally, what we will have a thought of, "Oh, I'm bored," in the sense that I have been bored for the past few minutes. But that's not really waking up, because we continue to remain bored, and then we'll have the thought, "I'm bored," 5 minutes later. So the question is can we really wake up to that boredom and say, "Oh, yes, I am bored. Let me go find some distraction. Let's be our own mommy. Let's give ourselves a puzzle to do, or a coloring book, or something like that you would give a child, or as an adult, we can go and do some sort of other activity." Now, possibly one of the best activities that we could do when we say that I am bored would be, "Aha, I see you, boredom. Am I not a good meditator? I can see that boredom and wake up to it." congratulate ourselves for having seen the boredom. Aha, I see you, boredom. Because if we can say, aha, I see you, boredom, now we've already made a change. That in fact, investigating boredom is not the same thing as boredom itself. Being bored is a kind of an ignorant state to be in. That I'm bored, but I don't like it, I'm dissatisfied. And then we can wake up to it and say, aha, I see you, boredom. Let me start, let us say, reflecting upon all of the nice things that I have in my life. First thing that we can do is take a deep breath and say, well, at least I'm still alive. I mean, that's the amazing thing, is that you're still alive. Boredom didn't kill you. You're still breathing. Can you take a deep breath? Can everybody take a deep breath right now and say, wow, I'm still alive. Being alive is wonderful. If you're bored, that means that at least you're alive. How could you possibly be bored if you're dead? That's one thing that's nice about being dead, is you never get bored when you're dead. Yes, go ahead, Anna.
When you mention restlessness and worry, somehow I kind of feel it's kind of more depression symptom. So boredom is somehow depression symptom. It feels like it's. I mean, you cannot say when person is depressed, be happy about life, but
Right.
just it's pretty eye-opening for me that boredom is a worry. So I'm not sure what does it means, but it's kind of very important.
Exactly right. In fact, you're making an important point that you could say then that when people get really bored, that is depression. Or depression, even at the point of being what they call clinical depression, would really be something like clinical boredom. Nothing is good enough. We don't have any objects. So whatever is happening right now is just not good enough. And what we can start to practice that way is to say, I see that I'm having thoughts and feelings about nothing is good enough and that I'm bored or that I'm depressed. And that, I see you, is then the major change that we make. So now that we recognize that we're bored, now that we actually see that we're depressed, that what we can do then is make a diversion, make a change, start counting our blessings. And the first blessing that we can count is that I'm still alive. Well, I'm really glad I'm alive. Is anybody here really glad that you're alive? Harold, are you glad that you're alive? Well, it beats being dead big time, doesn't it? How about you, Eric? Are you glad that you're alive?
I am, but I don't know if it beats being dead.
I'm
I'll
sorry,
find
what?
out someday.
Say
I'll find
again?
out someday. I'll find out someday if it beats being dead.
Yes, alive beats being dead. Anything that's alive will agree that being alive is better than being dead. I mean, look at the way that insects operate. You can see that they, for instance, when you swat a fly, it's really hard because the instinct for staying alive is really strong for that fly. It wants to stay alive. And boredom is almost kind of like being dead in the sense that we don't have anything to pay attention to. But when we recognize that we're bored, we can divert ourselves and start doing something, paying attention to something. And the first thing that I would recommend is to pay attention to is by breathing long, taking a deep breath, and recognizing that we're still alive. Because being alive beats being dead, and being alive beats being bored and depressed. And so, if one is bored to the point of being depressed, we can actually then start looking for the things that are joyful. And the first one that we come up with is that I'm still alive, I'm breathing. And then you can also recognize, well, at least I'm not being stuck with a knife. I'm not in great pain. So that would be another one. That in fact, what we're talking about here is at a very basic level, we're beginning to count our blessings. What's the good things that are happening? That at least right now, I'm not having to carry a heavy weight. At least right now, I'm not having to run or exert myself. That this is the way that we look at it, not in a sense of doing without, but instead recognizing that when we're bored, when we're doing without, that we have nothing to do. That the kids in the back seat of the car that I was mentioning a moment ago, if the kid could have the idea, well, at least I'm not in school right now. At least I'm still alive. At least the bullies are not picking on me. So we begin to look at things from a positive point, that all of these bad things that could be happening are not. And because they're not happening, now I've got nothing happening, and so I'm bored or I'm depressed. And so what we can do with that is, again, start counting our blessings. Start looking at the good things that we do have. Recognizing, for instance, those who are in the helping professions, we can say, well, at least I've got good friends that I can give advice to. Or look at all the ways that I do help people. Not that I'm responsible for them, but that they can do something. Like Harold, you can say, well, at least I've got a happy little dog that I can play with.
This kind of reminds you of when you travel and then you go home and sleeping in your bed is like the best feeling ever.
Yes.
Everywhere else, it's not the same. But we don't appreciate it typically when we're, sleeping in our bed until we're not.
I know, that's an important point. Okay, so a lot of people, for instance, can be bored while they're in bed. They can be bored there. But what you're talking about, actually the Buddha talks about it in Sutta number 39, where he's talking about these hindrances, where restlessness and boredom is one of the hindrances. And so if we are able to lay in bed and appreciate that we're just laying in bed, wow, I've got no place to go and nothing to do, isn't that marvelous? That I can lay here in bed for the next 8 hours. Go ahead.
A thought on a similar line that I've been playing with this week is, what if these were my 10 last minutes to live? And it's at times that I've been a bit bored, like laying in my bed or just resting. And it gives these 5 minutes, these 10 minutes, like I value them more because I'm imagining that they're my last one. So I put all my effort into feeling joyful.
Very good. That's the whole point, is that in a way, you're starting off with, by talking about what if I only had 10 minutes to live, you're actually pointing out how precious it is to be alive. How precious it is to be alive. And that what does being alive mean is that we have things to do, attentions to pay, and oftentimes when we have too much attention to pay, too much work to do, then we feel dissatisfied and angry. And when we don't have enough to do, then we feel bored. So in a way, we can talk about it in the sense of the middle path. Can we find a middle path point in where we're bored, we're at one side, can we at least find something to think about that's good, that's marvelous? At least I'm not a politician. At least I'm not a court executive or a company executive. At least I don't have way too much stuff to do. That being bored actually is a very nice thing as compared to having too much work to do, too much responsibilities. And so you can congratulate yourself for not being at that extreme. Now, Errol, going back to the point that you were making about traveling, that in the Sutta number 39, the Buddha talks about the hindrances and gives 5 examples of what it's like to be free from the hindrances. And one of them is out traveling. He uses the example of a guy who's got a camel load of goods back in the old days, and that while he is traveling, and everybody can recognize this, he's got to look after his equipment. He's got to look after thieves. He's got to look after appointments and stuff like this. And not only that, but traveling itself is work. And when we get home, what a relief it is that we're home and safe and sound. Okay? That's one of the examples of being free from the hindrances. It's like being home from a journey. Wow, isn't it nice to have nothing to do and no place to go? I can lay here and finally relax because I've been out on a journey and it was a whole lot of work. So the other hindrances is the same way. One of them is like being in debt. Like people have car payments, they have mortgages, and all of these kind of monthly bills. Wouldn't it be nice if you didn't have any bills to pay? Wouldn't it be nice if you were free from debt, free from obligation? Well, when we're free from the hindrances, we're free from an obligation. In fact, you could say that boredom has the quality of feeling like that we need to do something, but we don't know what to do. That in fact, having nothing to do, being bored with nothing to do sounds quite marvelous compared to having too much work to do. And yet when people are bored, they still don't like it. Instead of appreciating, wow, I've got nothing to do. I've already arrived. Right now, nothing is happening. Isn't that marvelous? And so we can find that kind of middle place, that middle path of being free from having to do a lot of journeying and also being out of debt, because that's what it seems like with boredom is that we've got debts to pay, but we don't know how to do that. And so, like a good mom, we can actually give ourselves a diversion. And the best diversion that we can give is to start counting our blessings, to look at what's worthwhile about our lives. You could also say that boredom is something like being sick. And everybody enjoys when they get sick that they come out of their sickness. And yet we don't really appreciate that. So one of the things that we can say is that when I'm bored, at least I'm not sick. Because when I'm sick, I've got to pay attention to how bad I feel. But if I'm not sick, now, isn't it marvelous that I actually have no sickness so that I can be bored? So learning to appreciate boredom in the sense of appreciating that you've got no place to go, you're not sick, you're not in debt, and you can just enjoy the moment. If you're in debt, you're going to worry about it. If you're out traveling, you got to worry about it. But when you've got nothing to do and no place to go, isn't that marvelous? So this is the way you can handle boredom, is by recognizing it's really nice. It depends upon our attitude. And a lot of this has to do with changing our attitude about life. Yes, Errol.
Dhammarato, I've been on vacation past few days, and I've been trying to get into jhana, and I haven't, been super successful at it. And as my PTO is coming to a close here, I feel like I have to at least get into jhana before I get back into work. So it's almost, it feels like I'm running out of time. There's dukkha there. I don't know what hindrance that is.
Well, it would be worried, running out of time. You have the thoughts of, oh, I can't get everything done. And having that kind of thought is certainly going to keep you out of jhana. The way to get into jhana is, in fact, you're making this point. Boredom could be easily converted into jhana just by focusing on, wow, I don't really have anything to do. I don't have any place to go. Isn't that marvelous? And start looking at the marvelous qualities of it. For instance, when I'm bored, I'm not in danger. If I were in danger, I'd be paying attention to what's dangerous. But now that I'm bored, I'm not in danger. So, wow, isn't that great that I'm feeling safe and secure? Also, when we're bored, we're generally feeling pretty comfortable. Isn't that nice that I'm feeling comfortable? So we can take those things and turn it around to see the very great benefits of having nothing to do, which would bring on normally boredom from a victim's point of view, and change our victim's view into the winner's view of, wow, all the work that needed to be done has been done, and now there's nothing to do. Isn't that marvelous? Yes, Anna.
So now I really feel that it's not a boredom, it's a restlessness. So it's absolutely different approach then, because I understand now that I just picked up too much from this week. And it is restlessness, and it's not a boredom. So somehow it's not about how good it is not to have anything. It's about how to calm down and let it go. It feels like boredom, but in reality, it must be different approach.
Well, they're very, very closely related in the sense that restlessness has the quality of saying, all dressed up and no place to go. I've got all of this energy to do something, and there's nothing to do. That in fact we could go so far as to say that restlessness actually comes out of a deep sense of fear, that we're afraid that we have to get something done and there's nothing to do. All dressed up, are ready for battle, and there's no battle. All geared up for war, and there's no war. I think that's in fact why people start wars, is because they're all geared up for war and there's no war happening. So let's go make a war. It's that restless energy. Actually, if you look at the word restless, that means then that there is an intense feeling of wanting to get something done, but we don't know what it is to get done. Again, it's got the same solution to it, which is start looking at all the nice positive things that are associated with this present moment, including all the work that has been done that now doesn't need to be done because the job has been finished, and now we can relax.
I really like that, Dhammarato. Even the work to get into jhana has already been done. Now I can just relax.
Now we can relax. Can take a deep breath and let out a relaxing sigh. That whenever we're thinking about stuff that we have to do, that's also a form of restlessness, is having too much to do, but we're not doing any of it. So we're thinking, we're planning, we're saying, well, I've got to do this and I got to do that and I've got to do this thing and I've got to do that. And all of that will bring up that energy. And yet we're not doing any of those things. We're just planning to do stuff. And when we can wake up to that and recognize it and see it for what it is, then what we can do is we can say, aha, but right now, I don't do any of that stuff. I'll do it later. But right now, I can just sit here and relax. Or I can lay here in bed and just relax because I'm not doing any of those things. So this, either side of the boredom and restlessness is whether or not we either don't have any energy to do anything and we've got nothing to go, or that we're all restless in the sense that we've got all of these plans to do things, we've got all of these activities, but we're still not doing any of them. And in either case, we can come back to say that right now, I'm not doing anything. Let me enjoy the fact that I'm doing nothing. That this is basically what helps get us into the jhana, is by recognizing that there is no dangers, there are no fears, there are no discomforts, and everything right now is okay. Everything right now is just fine. Okay? We can become satisfied with this moment. Even though I've got nothing to do and no place to go, and I've got all of this restless energy for it, still, I can relax. I can see all of that energy and recognize that the fear that I hold inside is not real because there are actually no real dangers. That this is just an old habit that we've got. That's the seed of the thing that, in fact, that we were talking about, is the old habits or the propensity to become bored. That would be the ultimate. Restlessness and boredom is a tendency that is deeply buried inside. You could say that, in fact, it's associated with the self-preservation instinct. Oh, if I don't get this, that, and the other thing done, it'll be greatly to my detriment. It might kill me if I don't get any of this stuff done. And that, in fact, is not true. Even though it's associated instinctively with the self-preservation instinct, we can still come back and say, even though I'm bored, I'm still alive. Even though I'm restless, I'm still alive. It hasn't killed me yet. And so we can begin to see in wisdom that this association inside of these instincts is not appropriate in this moment. That we come out of an instinctual world. Way, way back when everything happened on instinct, we had dangers to take care of. We had tribal issues. We had territorial issues. And nowadays we don't have much of that stuff in reality going on. Isn't that marvelous? But we have to use wisdom in order to see that. Otherwise, we've got all this instinctive energy and all this instinctive stuff going on inside that comes out of our DNA, out of our deep, dark past, and yet it's not appropriate in the moment. So wisdom would say, aha, let me look at all the really good stuff that's happening right now, that I don't have any place to go, I don't have anything to do, that I'm still alive, I'm well, I'm not sick, I'm not in prison, I'm not on a journey, I'm not working too hard. That's the marvelous part of it. So we can find that middle path so that we can feel really, really good inside for the same reasons that we were bored inside. For the very reasons that we were bored, we can turn that upside down and say, really, isn't that marvelous that I have so little to do that I'm bored? Aha, I see you, boredom. And by seeing it, we can become free of it. Then, in fact, we could say in a kind of a funny way, wow, isn't it marvelous, isn't it wonderful that I can take the time to be bored? Boredom is wonderful. Can you see that, Anna? I mean, I'm watching your face, and I haven't seen a crack of a smile yet. I'm thinking, isn't it marvelous that we can be bored? Because the opposite of being bored is being too busy. So let us find that middle path, that place, that sweet spot in life, where we can appreciate that there's really not much happening and everything is okay the way that it is.
So worrying Dhammarato has a feeling of something is gonna happen, or no? Like
Yes.
it has a positive. We think it has a positive impact on our problem. That's the illusion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if I worry about this thing, somehow it's helping solve that problem, or it's gonna help solve that problem.
Okay.
But it has zero impact on the problem itself.
Well,
or whatever.
Actually, we could. One of the things that we could say about it then is that restlessness would be creating a to-do list. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. And sometimes we can come up with some really, really good ideas. Now, if we come up with a good idea, there's one of two things that we can do about it. One is just set it down for later. I'm glad I thought about that. I'll take care of it later. Or the other one is that now that I've had that idea, I got to go do it right now. And if we have that energy of got to do it right now, then that's just normal life, the way that we live. Oh, there's something that needs to be done. The bell rang. It's time to get up and go to meditation or something like that. Or the bell ring and it's time for dinner. So there is a time and place for everything. But there is also times and places for nothing at all. And a lot of the time during the day, there's really not much of anything happening. And yet we have this energy, I've got to be busy, I've got to keep going, that if I don't, something bad's going to happen. And basically, nothing bad ever happens. We got that mentality that when we were kids, oh, if I don't get all of this work done, I don't want to do the work, but if I don't get the work done, I'll get fussed at. And so the child finds himself in a kind of a double bind in the sense of, I'm damned if I do, and I'm damned if I don't. And the child, in fact, could say, okay, I'll do it later, and everything will be okay. And so I can be okay right now. But children don't have that wisdom. This is the kind of thing that we have to develop through the practice of anapanasati, the practice of meditation, is to get that sense of well-being right now. I can feel okay right now. Everything is all right now. Now, if we can get that sense of well-being, that sense of right nowness, everything is all right, then by doing that over and over and over again, we actually build up a confidence that I can handle whatever happens. I can handle these right nows. This is where we begin to congratulate ourselves. This is the wow, everything really is great. There is nothing happening, and so I feel bored, but the feeling of boredom is a disadvantage, instead of recognizing that there's an advantage in there. And so again, this is the point about the middle path. You know, there's something that's kind of important about that, and that is that in the well-known sutta, the Dhammacakkappavanta Sutta, is, let us say, widely accepted as the very first sermon that the Buddha ever gave. And the first thing that he talks about in that sermon is the middle path, to find a balance, to find a sweet spot in life between many things. One of them would be between doing and not doing, or in the case of boredom, in the sense of, I've got nothing to do right now, that I wanted to have something done, that I'm restless, that I want something happening, and nothing is happening. If I can see that as an advantage, then the boredom is not nearly as much as it was. We also have the sense of something is about to happen that's bad or wrong, and I've got to be on guard for that. And really, the thing to be on guard for is that sense of doom, that something bad's going to happen. That's one of the aspects of depression and boredom also, is that, oh no, I don't know what to do, but if I don't do it, something bad's going to happen. And the reality is that things don't happen, not a lot of bad stuff. That in fact, the baddest part of that would be the feelings of the impending doom, that the actual doom never happens, but the feeling of impending doom is common. And when we can say, aha, I see that feeling of impending doom, I can see that fear, and it's not based in reality. The reality is that nothing bad's about to happen. I'm just thinking that things are about to happen. And so I can come back to that place in the middle and say, everything's going to be all right. Everything is fine. Nothing bad is about to happen. We can use wisdom, and we can talk to ourselves, comfort ourselves, nourish ourselves, and say, everything is all right. Everything is fine. Right now, no problems.
Dhammarato, is another way of looking at this. So if an idea comes, I ask myself, can I do anything about it now? If yes, then I can do it. If not, then I just drop it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Or
There's
you
no
can
point
congratulate
in
yourself. That was a good idea. I'll remember that one so that I can implement it later when it's the correct time to do so.
Yeah, the issue I have with that is dropping it, because I feel like I have to remember. I probably write it down.
Well, you had the idea one time, you can have the idea again.
So, trust yourself.
Mm-hmm. To trust yourself. That's an important point that you're making. We have to trust that everything is going to be okay. Because that sense of doom is not trusting. We don't trust ourselves. So, Anna, can you trust when you're bored that that's okay? That it's all right to have nothing to do. Wow, here you are alive and breathing, and everything is all right. Everything is fine. Also, we can say that that sense of boredom has a bodily sensation that we don't like. So that would be part of the investigation, is to say, well, where is the boredom? Is it completely mental, or is it physical in some way?
So now it's not only depression, now boredom is an anxiety, because it is restlessness, it's an anxiety. So we kind of working for, yes, we're afraid not to resolve the issue.
Mm-hmm.
And then coming to the pride, right? So how come I cannot resolve? So yes, I'm going to be anxious about, I can fail somewhere. So it's a lot. But yes, I can let it go. Somehow you said something important, so I can let it go.
Mm-hmm. So right now, you're not failing. Thinking that we're failing is the failing. But when we stop thinking that we're failing and saying, well, right now everything is all right. Right now everything is fine. We're really not failing right now. This is where we can come to, is that right now is okay. And look at all the marvelous stuff that's happening around the right now that makes it okay. Number one, I'm still alive. Number two, I'm still breathing. Number three, I'm not in danger. Number four, I'm not in discomfort. And then we can come to that big number 5, and that is everything really is okay. Everything is satisfying. That when we were in depression or in boredom or in restlessness, that's dukkha. And when we can come to the point of saying everything is all right, everything is fine. Yes, I was bored until I saw the boredom, and now I recognize that everything is okay, everything is fine. And so I can turn that whatever it is from dissatisfaction into being satisfied with it. It really is all right. Everything is okay. And we can inspect the body to find out, is there anything in there that's dissatisfying? I mean, sadness, grief, fear, anxiety, and all of that have bodily sensations. Restlessness would have a bodily sensation. Depression and boredom would have a bodily sensation. Can we see that and then play with it, put it into the breath, and say, okay, anxiety is right here. Let me breathe into that. Or maybe depression is a little deeper, closer into the belly, or boredom, and I feel a sinking feeling. So let me play with that. Let me remember to look at the body, take some deep breaths, and see if I can change those sensations into relaxed sensations. If we can get the body to change, we can get the mind to change. If we can get the mind to change, we can get the body to change. And so can we find that boredom somewhere in the body? Yes.
I was gonna ask something related to what you just said. That I think another angle to this issue is the expression practice like your hair is on fire, because that's like a little bit of a more dynamic approach. And I was going to ask you like what kind of thoughts would lead to that intention of practicing like your hair is on fire. But I think what you just said applies really well, because it's practicing like your body is on fire. And in this case, the heavy emotions would be the fire, and the breath would be like the water quenching it.
Exactly correct. Also, that idea of practicing like the body or like the one's hair is on fire is generally when people don't want to practice, it's because their mind really is on fire and they don't recognize that. That an example of that is quite often I hear students say, well, I have been so busy I haven't called you. In other words, their mind has been on fire. They're busy. They don't have time, right? That means that their mind is on fire. Their hair is on fire. So if we would practice like our hair is on fire, what does that mean? It means to put the fire out. The old joke is that I know what that's all about. My hair was on fire. Now it's all burned out. Nothing left. But yes, practicing like our hair is on fire means to recognize the mind is on fire and to put the fire out right now. It's when people think about it as the long term, in the sense of practicing like your hair is on fire because it's always on fire. It'll be on fire for years. You'd better do something about it. And then, in fact, what they do is they practice meditation, which really keeps the fire going. What we need to do is to recognize that the mind is on fire, the hair is on fire, the restlessness is there, and we can say, I see that, and now we can take the breath and put the fire out and come back to that state of, wow, I'm lucky that I'm bored, because that means I got no place to go and nothing to do. I can relax. The jobs that had to be done were done. So this is about it. It can be handled. Find that sweet spot. Let the boredom be not boredom, just a point of relaxation. Like the kid in the back of the car, instead of saying, Mommy, I'm bored, and Mommy giving the kid a bunch of stuff to do, puzzles or drawings or maybe homework, the kid can say, wow, isn't it nice that I don't have anything to do? That I can enjoy the moment.
Dharma is like anti-doing.
Mm-hmm. Yes, humanity, especially in the Western society, is way, way too busy. When we have a great big project, we want to get it done and get it done and get it done without recognizing that, hey, we can take the weekend off. Except that we're thinking in this regard that the weekend is 5 days and then 2 days off and 5 days and then 2 days off. Why don't we take the weekend off right now? Today I don't have to do so much. I've been busy for days. Let me not be busy today. Let me relax. Or in the case of working at work, we've been working and busy for an hour. Why don't we relax right now for 10 minutes, for 5 minutes? Let's just not do anything and just enjoy that there's nothing to do. I feel safe. I feel secure. I feel comfortable. I feel satisfied. And we keep practicing that over and over again. Safe, secure, comfortable, satisfied, with nothing to do and no place to go. And that confidence will build. Hey, I can feel safe, secure, satisfied anytime I remember. I know that I can throw those hindrances out of my mind. That's the confidence, that I know that I can throw it out. Whether it's boredom or restlessness or doubt, worry, a sense of impending doom, whatever it is, I can throw that out and come back to the present moment and realize everything's okay. Everything is fine. No worries, mate. Even the Australians know. Or in Thai language, Maimi Panha, Maimi Alai. Okay. That word Maimi Alai is actually an interesting word because Alai means what? And Maimi means I don't have what? Whatever it is, I don't have it. Even boredom. I don't have to have the boredom just because I've got nothing to do. Maimi Alai. No worries, nothing to do, and we can practice that. So whenever, Anna, you feel bored, you can say, aha, I feel bored because I've got nothing to do. Isn't that marvelous? I've got nothing to do. I could just sit here or lay here and just feel good about it. And feel satisfied that I got nothing to do. Restlessness is the same way. Yeah, I'm all dressed up, but no place to go.
It almost feels like a bit of a betrayal to not do anything. Like you're betraying yourself. Like
Actually,
you're ready
no.
for battle.
You're betraying your society. You're betraying all of the old rules that you have learned. You're betraying the supposed tos. And the supposed to themselves are betraying you.
Yes. Yeah. The feeling though initially, because that comes from society as children, but they feel like ours. Like
It
I'm
wasn't
betraying
built
myself.
in. It's sort of like looking at it this way. Um, in cement, you have steel rods, supporting rods, and those are what's built in. But let's look at the cement. The cement is what came in through society. The steel rods are you, but you were completely covered with the cement of society. It got poured in, it got mixed in, and now it's covering up everything. But the real strength is the steel rods, not the cement. The cement keeps things fixed and rigid in place, but the real strength is inside. And so with that analogy, we can recognize that we're just covered with rules. We're ossified with all of the rules and supposed tos. That may be, in fact, where a lot of the restlessness is coming from, is look at all of these things I'm supposed to do. I've got all of these rules. I've got all of these supposed tos going on. And the reality is that we're not meeting all of those supposed tos anyway. So why feel bad about it? Let's not do what we're supposed to do. Let's enjoy not doing what we're supposed to do.
You said like dressing up and nowhere to go. It reminds me of your friends like going out and having a good time or whatever, showing pictures, and then you feel like left out.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that kind of
missing out on something.
Missing out,
Yeah. So that would be a way of looking at it from society's perspective. We don't want to miss out on anything. But from a Buddhist perspective, from a meditator's perspective, isn't it marvelous that I'm missing out on all of that stuff? Because, wow, what a lot of work it is. I mean, in fact, you talked about the people sending you photos. Guess how much trouble they had getting to where they were to take those photos and how much trouble they're going to have to get home. The pictures look nice, but that's all they are, is just pictures. Look at all the reality of all the traveling. And then, in fact, a lot of people do a lot of traveling because of the feeling of restless. They get restless, so they go do something. Then they go do it again. And then they get a ticket and go someplace else because they feel restless. And they're putting in a lot of work and a lot of effort when, in fact, if they would deal with that sense of restlessness directly, I'm better off without doing all of that traveling. And so when you see the pictures from those people who did all of that traveling, you can say, wow, I'm glad that it was them taking those pictures and that I'm not in that photo. Because having myself in that photo meant that I had to do a lot of work. And all I got out of it was a photo. So letting yourself be okay when you see those photos, instead of having that sense of jealousy come up, we can say, hey, that's their thing. And our thing is nothing. And we can be easy.
I will say the reward and feeling of nothing is better. Mm-hmm. The feeling of first jhana, like what all those things are doing, the pictures and people doing all that stuff, what they're looking for is first jhana.
Uh-huh.
Just don't know it, right?
And they're expecting all of those really good feelings to come from the outside. And yet what they get out of the outside is a lot of work to do, a lot of traveling.
And they may not get that feeling.
And they still don't get that feeling of being relaxed. they're more than likely going to get the feeling that they're looking for after they come home and lay down and say, wow, what a relief it is. I'm not traveling now. I'm glad that vacation is over.
The reward for our nothing is much higher.
Mm-hmm. So, Anna, do we have a solution now to your question about boredom? Good one. Great. Excellent. Well, does anybody else have anything to say? I think that this has been a good call. Yes, Eric.
I just wanted to say that I haven't called because I haven't been too busy. It's because I have been too lazy.
Because of what?
I've been too lazy to. Lazy.
I didn't catch you. Huh?
You said that sometimes students say that they don't call because they've been too busy.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm saying I haven't called because I've been too lazy.
Oh, everything is all right. Everything is fine. Yes, that's a good reason to not call. It's because things are too good.
Yeah, they're all right. But I'm glad I'm here. And if you guys want to come up with other things to talk about, I'll gladly stay for a couple of more minutes. But if not, it was a pleasure.
Yeah, this has been good. Errol, do you have any last comments to make?
No, thank you so much, Dhammarato.
Excellent. All right. Well, we'll see you guys. Anna, thank you. I really like your smile right now. When you first called, you were bored and you didn't like it and you were unhappy, but now you're feeling good. That's good. So bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
I
It's
guess.
been a good day.